Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica, and today I'll be talking about cognitive dissonance and the role that it has played in my life. The example today that I'll be using is regarding to myself and a friend at the time that I thought I had. I'm not going to disclose her name, so her name today will be Stacy. So, as we all learned from last week, cognitive dissonance is basically a feeling of discomfort based off of negative attitudes, beliefs, or thoughts. Also, depending on the negative situation that you're in, you may start to make excuses for the person or the other party in that example. Like the professor was saying in class with the woman and how she was making excuses for her friend, and I meant for her husband at the time, saying, "Oh, uh, it's gonna get better. He only hit me because he was frustrated, because this. So that's also cognitive dissonance too. That's the part of the definition too. When you make excuses for people or things that are happening in your life, you don't take ownership for it. Or you don't ownership in the sense of that you can't see what the real issue is. You're just blaming yourself. You're blaming yourself that it's all your fault instead of taking ownership for the fact that you need to put your foot down and figure out what's going on in the situation. In the professor's example, the situation was the man. And so, but that's something different. So back to my example. So I had a friend in high school. Her name's Stacy. We're going to call her that. And she was very popular, very cool. And at the time, I was someone who wasn't secure in myself. I wasn't secure in knowing who I was. And so I was seeking friends. I was seeking friendship. I was seeking to be cool, popular. And so I ran into Stacy. And Stacy was already known. I already wanted to be friends with Stacy because Stacy was someone that was very known at school. And so fast forwarding to us going to the beach. We went to the beach one time our senior year, and it was nighttime, and the friends that we were going with, they were up to no good. They were speeding. We almost got killed on the way to the beach. They were speeding. All types of horrible stuff was happening that night. I wanted to go home as soon as we got to the beach, but I didn't say anything. I didn't want to be that party pooper. Oh, this, that, and the other. So I just kept it to myself. So long story short, we're leaving the beach. And at the time, I was supposed to be staying at Stacy's house. And so I had my bags in Stacy's friend's car because Stacy's friends were supposed to be dropping us back off. And Stacy's friend was like, Stacy was like, oh, you can't come to my house because I'm going to my boyfriend's house. I'm like, well, where am I supposed to say? You can go somewhere else. Well, I don't know, just go somewhere else. Maybe back home, but you can't come back to my house, plus it's pretty late. So I was like, wow, I would have never done her like that. And, I should have said something, but I didn't feel like saying anything at the time because I didn't want to seem like a party pooper. So instead, I kept it to myself, and I was like, all right, I'm not going to say anything. Cool. And so I fell asleep, and I woke up to screaming, and I didn't have my seatbelt on, so I slammed it to the other side of the car. And I woke up and everyone was crying. The passenger was crying, the driver was crying, and I looked and I didn't see Stacy anywhere in the car. So I got a little nervous and I was like, what happened to Stacy? And so I woke up and I was like, guys, what happened? And they were like, oh, we almost crashed into that pole. And we all fell asleep at the wheel. And the girl in the passenger seat woke up enough in time to jump in the driver's seat and to stop the car just before we hit the pole. So I was thinking to myself, I almost died. Wow, okay. And I'm like, well, where's Stacy? And so I called up Stacy, and Stacy was like, oh, I forgot to tell you that the passenger and the driver were falling asleep, and you should stay awake long enough to get to your destination. Because I stayed up long enough to get to my destination, her boyfriend's house. So she stayed up long enough to get to her boyfriend's house, but didn't have the decency to wake me up to stay awake to get to my destination. So if I would have died, how would she have felt? So I had that going on in my head, and I was like, all right, you're definitely not somebody that I want to hang out with. I was like, that's pretty wrong. But then I started blaming myself, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I should have stayed awake. Maybe I maybe she just didn't understand. I was just trying to blame myself for every little thing instead of understanding that she was a bad friend for what she did. This was wrong, and it had to be stopped. We don't need to be friends anymore. She was wrong. And so I learned that taking an issue like that and my, cognitive dissonance, being uncomfortable in the situation that I was in, from the attitudes, the behaviors that this girl presented herself to me, and me starting to blame myself for all types of things that could have happened, what should have happened, what didn't happen. And at the end of the day, she was wrong. She was wrong for leaving me, and I was, and I take ownership in the fact that had I been secure in myself, I wouldn't have felt the need to even hang out with her in the first place. But long story short, I don't hang out with her as much. I don't hang out with her at all anymore. After high school, I was still hanging out with her, but now I don't talk to her. We don't hang anymore. That's done. And I'm sorry this was a long video, 6 minutes. Just want to, say that. And that's my example for cognitive dissonance, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you.